Oh, we just have a couple of housekeeping announcements. So if we could ask everyone to please take a seat facing Srila Prabhupada. So first of all, we'd like to thank everyone for joining us today. Today is a somber occasion because we are celebrating the disappearance anniversary of ISKCON founder Acharya, His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. However, this is actually a day that we celebrate. Because as per Srila Prabhupada's instructions, when we're talking about the great Acharyas, their appearance and disappearance are considered non-different, just like the rising and the setting of the sun. So today, while it is a bittersweet occasion for many devotees, is a day that we honor Srila Prabhupada and his legacy. So we're very fortunate that we have some senior devotees who've had personal experience with Srila Prabhupada joining us today. His Grace Krishnadas Kaviraj Prabhu, Purnamasi Mataji, as well as Gaura Prabhu. So we'll be welcoming them shortly as we just get settled. So we'll be able to hear some first-hand memories and remembrances of Srila Prabhupada on this occasion. We would like to thank our cooks for today, Rasmandal Prabhu and Nityatripti Mataji. We'd also like to thank the devotees that sponsored today's deity outfit. So our pujaris, as usual, did an excellent job dressing their lordships today, and they were in a brand new outfit, which was sponsored by Sudevi Mataji and Mahajan Prabhu. So we'd like to thank them for sponsoring this outfit for their lordships. Thank you, Krishna. Looks like we're about ready here, so.
Everybody can join together if you know the words. Om Jnana-timirandasya Dhyananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Dena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha Shri Chaitanya Mano Vishnam Stapitam Dena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Svapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurum Vaishnavanscha Shri Rupam Sagrajakam Sahagana Raghunatham Vitam Tam Sajevam Sadvaitam Savadutam Harijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padam Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakam Vitanscha He Krishna Karuna Sindho Dinamando Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pramami Hari Priye Vanchakalpa Trubhyascha Kripa Sindhu Vyevacha Patitanam Bhavnebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasadi Gaur Bhaktavinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So today is the disappearance day of His Divine Grace A.C. Abhayacharya Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. And I'm sure that everybody who is sitting here has come in contact with Srila Prabhupada by his words, and possibly not personally, but when you read one of his books, Srila Prabhupada actually said, when I am speaking these purports, I am speaking to each and every one of you personally. He actually said like that. So he didn't just mean for his disciples, he meant for the next 10,000 years. So there's going to be a lot of devotees coming to ISKCON. There already are a lot of devotees coming to ISKCON. And there will need to be many gurus initiating people into the Sampradaya. And so some of you may think, well, that's not going to be me, because who am I? I've just come to Krishna consciousness a few years ago. But essentially, the gurus who are in our movement now, many of them, when they first started initiating, had only been in the movement for the most they could have even been in the movement was 11 years. And some of them had only been in the movement for 7 or 8 years. And yet, Srila Prabhupada asked them to take up the role of initiating spiritual master. Now there was some mix-up in terms of how they should accept that role, and things kind of wavered for a little bit in the late 70s and early 80s. But now things are settling out, and we are starting to understand Guru Tattva in terms of how Srila Prabhupada is supposed to be seen within ISKCON for the next 10,000 years. And there was a wonderful paper that was written by Rabindra Swarup Prabhu that was adopted by a resolution of the GBC, and it's Srila Prabhupada, our founder, Acharya. And our founder, Acharya, Srila Prabhupada, that term is a very special term. We know that founder Acharya was the term that was used by Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati because he founded the Gaudiya Math. And Srila Prabhupada was a part of the Gaudiya Math. And it was an important branch of the Chaitanya tree. And there are other maths in India, maths and M-A-T-H-S, if anybody's wondering how that is spelled. And at least in English writing, that's how it's spelled. And there are different founder acharyas of different maths of different sampradayas, but there are essentially 4 Vaishnava sampradayas. There's the Shri, Rudra, Kumara, and the Brahma Madhva Gaudiya Sampradaya. So these 4 sampradayas are the sampradayas that are actually bringing everybody to the point of developing pure love of God. And that is the purpose of the sampradayas. And as Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, that yada yada hidharmasya glanir bhavati bharata abhyutanam adharmasya tadatmanam srijamiham. From wherever and whenever there is a predominant a decline in religion and a predominant rise of irreligion, at that time I descend myself. So Krishna comes different times, and what does he say? He actually says in the Bhagavad Gita that one should develop pure love and have one's mind completely fixed. Just fix your mind upon me and become my devotee. So that is the message that is carried by the 4 sampradayas, or should be carried by the 4 sampradayas. So Ramanuja, there's the Sri Sampradaya, and Ramanuja was a founder, Acharya, of one of the branches of the Sri Sampradaya. So it's a very important term that this founder Acharya denotes a branch of a tree of the initial Sampradaya. So, as I stated briefly, very quickly, it's the Brahma Madhva Gaudiya Sampradaya. So, Brahma, the very first created being in the universe, he is the one who is the original guru of our sampradaya. He received transcendental knowledge by the performance of tapa, and that was the first syllables that he heard when he was first situated in darkness, sitting on the lotus flower. He had awakened on this lotus flower, and immediately he heard the sound vibration, tapa. And due to his knowledge from the previous life, he knew that the sound vibration tapa means austerity, performance of penance and austerity. So he began to meditate, and one attains the position of Lord Brahma when one becomes very perfect at all the ritualistic sacrifices and everything in the universe, but doesn't actually get out of the cycle of birth and death, that becomes practically perfect but doesn't quite make it. And they end up being a Brahma in a universe. And there are many universes, many Brahmas. But the Brahma in our universe, he realized that, okay, I remember previously, tapa, penance, means meditating upon the Supreme Personality of God. And actually, there's a whole description in the Srimad Bhagavatam of how Lord Brahma actually descends down the lotus stem, and he sees Lord Vishnu, and he immediately falls in love and bhakti with Vishnu and becomes a great devotee. And so then he passes this on through the chain of disciplic succession. And then Madhvacharya is another member of Brahma, Madhva. So Madhvacharya is known in India as one of the great acharyas. So he is one of the acharyas in our sampradaya. So the Brahma Madhva Gaudiya. So Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu appeared just a little over 500 years ago, and he brought the message that is described as Harer. The message that he brought was that the chanting of the holy name is the method of deliverance, and the method of tapa, and the method of yajna to be performed in this age of Kali. So there's the Brihanaradiya Purana states Harer Nama Harer Nama Harer Nama Eva Kevalam Klo Nasteva 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 Gatir Anyata. Chant the holy name, chant the holy name, chant the holy name. In this age of Kali, there is no other way, no other way, no other way. So 3 times, Vedically speaking, 3 times means great emphasis. So Harer Nama is mentioned 3 times, chanting the holy name, and Nasteva, there's no other way. So we understand that Lord Chaitanya brought this message, and he is the golden avatar. And it's also described in the Srimad Bhagavatam that the avatar in the Kali Yuga will be Krishna Varna Tvisha Krishnam. So he's Krishna Varna. He's actually in the Varna of Krishna. He's in the Krishna Tattva. But he appears Tvisha Krishnam, but Krishna means but not blackish the way Krishna is. He's actually golden color. And he comes to propagate the Sankirtan movement, and it's described that Yajanti Smedasaha, the ones who are intelligent, that they will take to this chanting of Hare Krishna. So Lord Chaitanya came and he propagated the chanting of the holy name. And then after Lord Chaitanya left, the Gaudiya Vaishnava tradition looked very full, and there were many devotees, but then gradually things started to even decay, even within a couple of 100 years after Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu left. And it started to decay into a sahaja, a cheapened understanding of how to develop love for God. And so many people in India started looking at Vaishnavism as not a very proper way of approaching the supreme absolute truth. And it wasn't until, and there were still a few very pure souls who were keeping it alive, but it was very few. And then Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur appeared in West Bengal, and at first he was not born in a strict Vaishnava family, but he was very interested in understanding the absolute truth, and he started to study Gaudiya Vaishnavism, and then he realized the real deep truth of the Srimad Bhagavatam, and especially the Chaitanya Charitamrita, the book about the nectarine pastimes of Lord Chaitanya. And so he resurrected the Gaudiya Vaishnava movement. He found the place where Lord Chaitanya had appeared, and he had disciples who would come and listen to him speak about Gaudiya Vaishnavism. He wrote many of the songs in our songbook are all written by Bhaktivinoda Thakur, and they have a very high realization of the truths of Gaudiya Vaishnavism. And so then he had a son. He had a number of sons, but he had one son. That was Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. And he told his son that you must take initiation from a great Vaishnava. And he said, and I would like you to take initiation from this Gorakishore Das Babaji, who has been coming and listening to what I say, and I accept him as a very great soul. He was very renounced, and he is carrying on the tradition of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu very well. So I want you to take initiation from him. So first time Srila Bhaktisiddhanta approached Gorakishore, Gorakishore was like, I don't know nobody. How can I initiate you? You are so learned. At that time, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta was already, he had graduated from universities in the area in India, and he had written books about astrology and astronomy, and he was very, very learned. And Gorakishore Das Babaji really, he knew all the scriptures by heart, but he had learned them only by hearing. He couldn't actually read. But he had memorized the whole Chaitanya Charitamrita, the whole Srimad Bhagavatam, just by hearing. And so, anyway, finally, he had to come back, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta had to come back a number of times and approach Gorakishore, because he kept saying, no, I can't. You were too learned, and there's no way. And he just Bhaktisiddhanta finally said, look, if you don't initiate me, then I'm going to kill myself, because I have the order from my father. I have to take initiation from you. And so, okay, I'll initiate you. So he initiated him. And then Srila Bhaktisiddhanta, of course, founded the Gaudiya Math, and then Srila Prabhupada became a member of the Gaudiya Math. And he became a very exalted member of the Gaudiya Math. And he would study the scriptures after meeting Srila Bhaktisiddhanta. Even before meeting, his father was a Vaishnava, so he knew Srimad Bhagavatam, he knew Chaitanya Charitamrita. But after meeting Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati, and even at their very first meeting, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati said, you speak good English. I would like it if you would go to the West and preach this message to the Western world. And Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Prabhupada basically had just met Srila Bhaktisiddhanta. He wasn't thinking of going to the West, anything. But he took that instruction and he put it in his heart and he said, I will work on this. This is an instruction from my guru. I will work on getting there. So he studied the books. He maintained his family life. He would go as often as he could to the different Gaudiya Math temples wherever he traveled for his business in India. And Srila Prabhupada became very learned in the scriptures. And in fact, all the Gaudiya Math decided to actually call Srila Prabhupada Bhakti Vedanta. And because of his learned and his deep understanding and knowledge of the scriptures. And so, Srila Prabhupada still, he was wanting to fulfill the order of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta. So he started translating. And he translated Bhagavad Gita, and he started translating Srimad Bhagavatam. And so when Srila Prabhupada actually eventually managed to get a ticket and get on the Jaladuta in 1965 and actually come to the West, it was an amazing thing that everybody, if you're a sadhu in Gaudiya Vaishnava tradition, normally you go to some holy place. You either go to Navadvip or to Vrindavan, or maybe some other place in India that is holy. But those are the two main holy places for the Gaudiya Vaishnavas. And you just stay there and you meditate upon Krishna, and you develop your bhakti and through sadhana there. And it's not considered normal that somebody would go and leave Vrindavan. But Srila Prabhupada had been living, after he took sannyas and was living in Vrindavan and working on his Srimad Bhagavatam, he kept telling people that I have to go to the West and to carry out the order of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta. And he kept saying no. And they kept saying, no, you can't leave Vrindavan. I mean, that's, the scriptures say one of the angas of devotional service is living in a place, in a holy place like Vrindavan or Navadvip. So they were all saying, how you have a place, and right at the Sri Damodar temple, Sri Radha Damodar temple in Vrindavan, why would you want to leave and go to the horrible place where people are eating meat and doing all kinds of nonsense things? Why would you want to do that? And he said, because I have the order of my spiritual master. So Srila Prabhupada had taken that order, put it in his heart, and now was working towards the fulfillment of that order. And so he finally managed to get passage on the Jaladuta, and he came to the West, and he's had a sponsor. He stayed there for a little while, but he ended up realizing that I have to go to New York City. That is the place where, if like the song goes, if you can make it there, you can make it anywhere. And Srila Prabhupada realized that very early on, that if I can change some of the people in New York, then there's hope that the rest of the people in the world, because New York is one of the most degraded, but also one of the most important cities, materially speaking, in the world. And if I can change some of the people there, then the world will start to change. And so Srila Prabhupada came and to New York, started giving classes on the Srimad Bhagavatam and Bhagavad Gita. And gradually, some people, there were hippies and, well, even in 1966, that was just the beginning of the hippie era. It was almost more sort of a beatnik type crowd. But it was a counterculture crowd that really started to realize that we've been looking for some way to get out of this material, horrible situation. And a lot of times, many of us have been turning towards intoxication to try to get us out of that misery and maybe explore our consciousness or whatever. But when they started hearing the message that Srila Prabhupada had, they said, this is completely different. This actually brings one in touch with our spiritual nature, and allows us to be fully awake and realized of our spiritual nature, if we can actually get there. So they came, they listened, they joined. Gradually, they started following Srila Prabhupada more and more. One of the disciples, because Srila Prabhupada said, I like when my disciples are shaved, so they first started shaving their face, and then they shaved their heads, and they became very clean. And Srila Prabhupada gradually got a few disciples together, and then there were connections to the West. He went to San Francisco, and then actually the very next temple he opened was in Montreal. Huh? The third temple that he opened was in Montreal. And I believe that Jayapataka Maharaj joined in Montreal. He was a draft dodger and had come up to, because the Vietnam was going on, and so Jayapataka Maharaj actually came up to Canada to avoid it, as many devotees did. He might have joined in the States, but then eventually ended up in Montreal for a little while. And then he actually came to Toronto. Jayapataka Maharaj opened the first temple. Actually, I think it was even a temple before Beverly Street, on a Harvard or something. It was, no, it was near U of T. But, yeah. And so, anyway, he was instrumental in getting the temple going here in Toronto. So, Srila Prabhupada managed to travel around the world in the last, from 1965, when he first started really traveling to the West, until he passed in November of 1977. He'd travel around the world, I believe it was 13 times. 14, yeah. Anyway, it's a lot of traveling. And he opened 108 temples, and he published the entire Srimad Bhagavatam, well, right up until the beginning of the 10th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, the entire Chaitanya Charitamrita, many small books, the whole Bhagavad Gita, with purports. I mean, everybody knows the Bhagavad Gita. There's a lot of knowledge just in the Bhagavad Gita, let alone all the other things that he did. And he wrote well over 12,000 letters in that time. So he was, on average, writing over 1,000 letters per year to different disciples and different people that he met. And Prabhupada was very, very personal. There's one story of a devotee, Urvashi, who passed away just recently. And she was at the temple here in Toronto for a little while and in Montreal. And at one time, her mother was a bit skeptical about what was going on, but she kind of liked that her daughter had gotten out of drugs and was living a good life. And so she came to see, at the behest of her daughter, the mother of Urvashi came to see Srila Prabhupada. And she did meet Srila Prabhupada very briefly, just as he was leaving. But the mother of Urvashi was very impressed with Srila Prabhupada, and she had brought a little jar of homemade jam. Huh? Oh, yeah, that's right. And so actually, yeah, she had cooked it. So after meeting Srila Prabhupada, she cooked some jam and gave it to Urvashi, and she given it to Srila Prabhupada. And then about 2 or 3 weeks later, Prabhupada had already moved on. He was in some other part of the world. And the mother gets a letter in the mail from Srila Prabhupada thanking her so much for this jam. And, Prabhupada at that time was right in the midst of establishing temples, and the movement was growing. It was the early 70s, and the movement was really catching on and growing like crazy. And Prabhupada had so much responsibility and was translating and doing so many things, and yet he took the time out of his day to write a letter to thank a devotee's mother for a jar of jam. That's how personal Srila Prabhupada was. And that's how much he loved not only each one of his disciples, but Srila Prabhupada's coming on the Jaladuta, walking up the ramp to get on the Jaladuta, was just an amazing expression of his love for the entire Western world and for his dedication to his spiritual master. Those two things motivated Srila Prabhupada. He loved everybody. Prabhupada loved everybody. He was just full of warmth. I mean, everybody who met Srila Prabhupada would walk away going, I've just met somebody so extraordinary. and many of them, you know, fell in love with Prabhupada and eventually even became disciples. But Prabhupada loved everybody. And he was just so motivated by that love that he is willing to take the message, to give us the message, for, he said, my books will be the law books of ISKCON for the next 10,000 years. So that we have these books, and there will be some other books written by some gurus and things like that. We already know there's a lot of, and Prabhupada encouraged that writing. It wasn't like he didn't want it to happen, but we should know that the source of all that knowledge is Srila Prabhupada. And so we should first and foremost steep ourselves in the message coming from Srila Prabhupada. Take Srila Prabhupada's books and read them. I know of one devotee in Halifax. She got a set of the Srimad Bhagavatam, and apparently she's on like her 8th or 9th reading right through the entire Srimad Bhagavatam. Her whole life, practically. She's a little older, retired, and her whole life is just reading Srimad Bhagavatam. So she's becoming steeped in that knowledge. And we have to become steeped in that knowledge so that we can also carry that love that Srila Prabhupada has for us. I mean, all of us are here. I think all of us are motivated by a love for Srila Prabhupada, by a gratitude, at least, for Srila Prabhupada giving us the message of Sri Krishna. And so if we can repay him in any way, and it's by being part of his army, in a sense, his transcendental army, to beat back Maya. You know, Maya is affecting everybody, even all the people living on Roxborough here. Everybody has a beautiful, wonderful house, but they are so filled with anxiety. Am I going to lose my house because the mortgage payments are suddenly going to go from $5,000 to $10,000? You know, because the interest rates have suddenly gone up. And people are just in anxiety about so much. And that is just Maya. It is illusion. Because we're thinking that our bodies and everything in relation to these bodies is something important. So Srila Prabhupada wants us to give that message so that people can become free from that anxiety. We are not these bodies, and nothing that happens to this body really affects us. We are eternal. Nahanyate hanyamane sharire. We can't be damaged by anything in the material world. And that is such a wonderful message. When you understand that, it gives you a freedom. You can go out and preach and not have to worry about anything that's going to happen. And Krishna says, my devotee will never be vanquished. And of course, we know that Bhishma Dev, he's one of the greatest devotees of Krishna. And yet he was fighting on the other side from the Pandavas, and he ends up on a bed of arrows, and he passes away due to fighting in the Battle of Kurukshetra. But does that mean that he perishes? No. The spirit soul, Bhishma Dev, the spirit, goes on. It has nothing to do with that body. Although there's a whole another way of looking at it, that it's all part of his rasa with Krishna that goes on eternally in the transcendental roadshow of the Mahabharata. But we have to just come together like we are tonight, imbibe the message of Srila Prabhupada, take his message and go on. And for the next 10,000 years, every one of the people, the devotees who join ISKCON, you will have many different gurus. Many of you yourselves will become gurus, and you will be initiating devotees. And you'll be thinking perhaps even, here I am, and I know gurus right now who think like this. Who am I to be in this position of guru? That am I the one who is going to be giving complete connection to Krishna when I don't even have it myself? I've heard gurus in our movement speaking like that. So what is it that we are looking for in a guru? We're looking for, and I've discussed this with many gurus, that they feel that they are a guru in and as much that they connect each one of their disciples with Srila Prabhupada. So if you are here today, it behooves each one of you and I to become more attached to Srila Prabhupada, even than our own guru, in a sense. I mean, our guru is the one attaching us to Srila Prabhupada, but we should become very attached to Srila Prabhupada and his message and helping others become Krishna conscious as part of his movement. And in that way, then, Srila Prabhupada will take each and every one of us, because he is there. Srila Prabhupada himself spoke. He said, I am seeing Krishna just like I am speaking with you face to face. Those exact words he said. So, who of us can claim that? But we can claim that we are on the path to getting there. We are trying to get there. And we will get there by the practice of devotional service. Maybe in this lifetime, maybe not. But we will get there eventually, because on this path there is no loss or diminution, and it protects us from the greatest fear, this path of bhakti. That's what Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita when Arjuna asks, what happens if somebody, leaves this path or dies before the perfection? And Krishna says, don't worry. It's an eternal process, and you'll pick up. Essentially, you pick up where you left off. So, each one of us, the more that we become attached to Srila Prabhupada, then Srila Prabhupada will be the one taking us back home, back to Godhead. So, it sort of sheds a whole new light on the situation, in the sense that, sometimes, and it's become a little bit of a thing in ISKCON, that sometimes groups of devotees who are initiated by a particular guru sometimes think, well, I have to be with my guru, and my guru is everything, and I have to, and it becomes like a guru groupism. And many of the gurus I've talked to even say, I don't want that. Even though many of their disciples are kind of doing that, they're saying, that's not what I want. I want that everybody cooperates and works together as a full team in Krishna consciousness, and doesn't become just attached to one guru or another. No, we all become attached to Srila Prabhupada. We all become attached to his mission. And in that way, his mission will go on. And I think I'll leave it for Gora to Sorry, I took up a lot of time here, but I just kind of wanted to establish the history of Srila Prabhupada and bring it right around to how important Srila Prabhupada will be for the next 10,000 years for everybody who joins ISKCON. So his appearance day is Vyas Puja, the day after Janmashtami, is much more important even than Janmashtami. Because without Srila Prabhupada, we wouldn't even have this temple. We wouldn't have a great Janmashtami celebration. None of it would be happening. So it becomes in ISKCON the greatest day of our calendar. Right. And his disappearance day, similarly, is a great day in the sense that now Srila Prabhupada is available for everybody. He's more available today than he was before. And in fact, I'm just going to read a quick thing here. And this is actually the very last, this is a book called The Bond of Love, Srila Prabhupada and His Daughters. And this is from a devotee who took initiation from Srila Prabhupada, but never actually got to see him. Never saw him personally, face to face. And yet, she has great attachment for Srila Prabhupada. And that is the way that we all should feel too, in that now you can't get that face-to-face time with Srila Prabhupada, but you can develop that attachment for Srila Prabhupada in the same way this devotee did. So in 1971, Jasomati was visiting the Montreal temple when she heard Ishan crying as he read a letter he had received from Srila Prabhupada. Feeling Ishan's special love for Srila Prabhupada was the beginning of Jasomati's relationship with Srila Prabhupada. So this is her speaking. I was sharing Srila Prabhupada's teachings at high school, but my situation at home was difficult. The temple president told me, maybe Srila Prabhupada should hear your situation. By then I felt Srila Prabhupada and Krishna were so big and I was so insignificant. Although I tried every day for a week, I couldn't write to Srila Prabhupada. It seemed inappropriate. My relationship with Srila Prabhupada was always in his absence, and I felt he answered my letter through my seniors. I traveled from Montreal to Vancouver, and the following month Srila Prabhupada was in Portland, Oregon. I went there. Oh, she did actually meet Srila Prabhupada briefly, yes. I went there, was able to serve Srila Prabhupada by making his garlands and doing his laundry, and Prabhupada initiated me. He said, your name is Jasomati, Mother of Krishna. From the beginning, I was happy with Srila Prabhupada sending me instructions through others. When I pray for instructions, they come somehow through someone. Sometimes my godbrothers, godsisters, and even juniors seem to have emotionally laden love for Srila Prabhupada, while my relationship is more formal. That bothered me. I'd think, maybe I don't love Srila Prabhupada the same way others do. So I asked Srila Prabhupada about it. Then someone, I can't remember who, quoted Srila Prabhupada saying, as much as you love me, I will love you. I got my answer. I show my love for Srila Prabhupada through my service, and he loves me equally. I'm insignificant, but I still have a personal link to Srila Prabhupada, and it's revealed by the service I choose to do for him. So that should be the way we all feel. Our service to Srila Prabhupada will ignite our relationship with him. So I'll give it over to Gaura Prabhu for a few minutes to, sorry I took so much time. But go ahead.
Actually, both Harakumar and Mother Purnamasi are senior to me, so it's actually only proper they speak before I speak. I've prepared at least as much information as Krishnadas has shared, but I'm thinking if it's all right with the management so that I won't be in the way of the sweepers. After Prasadam, if anyone wants to stick around, I can speak more. Yeah, but if there's still time, I will speak. Oh, Hara Kumar's too humble to speak. All right. Purnamasi, did you want to speak?
Actually, the devotee Jasamati, whose offering Prabhupada, my husband just read, was one of the first devotees I met when I joined in Vancouver. She joined at 16. She started coming when she was 14, 15 with another devotee who also, anyway, they joined very young. And when I joined, they were both Brahminically initiated because Jagannath had just come to Vancouver. They needed 5 Brahmins to worship the deities properly. So Gita and Jasomati received second initiation around the same time, a few weeks before Jagannath came. And she's been steady all her devotional career. She was married, had many children who now have lots of children. And she's been living in Mayapur, and she was part of the, actually 2-3 devotees who organized the Kirtan Melas. She and Satyananda Maharaj brought that about. And she's a very amazingly pure soul. She's, when you speak to her, it's not that she's always quoting scripture, but she's really steeped in devotional service. And I wanted to just mention some of the devotees who served here and are now with Prabhupada somewhere. I think a lot of you may know Leela Shuka, who was here. She joined here. She was here for several years and then eventually ended up in Vrindavan and taught there for many years and did mentality service. She just passed away a few months ago. Urvashi, who was in Montreal and here, she was married to Shripati and was another very exalted devotee. Tralkanath, who was on the traveling party, the first traveling party, who went out with Ayodhapati, Vishwakarma. Oh, he's not here today. Giri Jalava. He was our Sankirtan leader. I forgot his name. Terrible. Anyway, so many, Bhuvaneshwari, who painted several of the pictures in concert with other artists, with in Srimad Bhagavatam and Krishna book, and some of the paintings up on the top level. She didn't paint the originals, but she painted the copies we have of those, which is amazing artist. And she passed away decades ago. Anyway, there are about 10 godbrothers and sisters who have left us, apparently, but for certain sure they're serving Prabhupada wherever he is. and they're all acharyas of mine, showing how to give your life for Prabhupada. Anyway, I wasn't really at all organized, so I have a picture at home with Nagadi, who was a really amazing musician. When he joined, he thought, no, I should give this up, and he gave a really expensive Gibson guitar to Vishwakarma because now he must be renounced. and he would go out every day on Sankirtan, but he really wanted to do deity worship too. But he didn't want to, he thought, if I do that, I wanted time to chant my rounds, to hear, to get out on time. So we ended up, he did the bathing of Jagannath deities, and then I would dress them, because I couldn't have handled the whole thing either. Okay, my husband's saying 2 minutes, okay. I'll try to, I didn't have much personal association with Srila Prabhupada. He came in 75 when we were on Gerard Street, and I had just gotten second initiation weeks or months shortly before Prabhupada was going to come in 75. So a devotee asked me if I wanted to do an arti. Bhadapriya, she's another one who did amazing service and has passed away and left in a glorious way. Anyway, she said, I'm too many, I can't do everything. Can you take my, I think it was Tuesday, Boga Arti. And, oh, okay. Later that day, she was out getting flowers with Lakshmani. We found out Prabhupada's arriving on Tuesday. And I went, oh no, around noon. I went, if I do that Arti, I can't go to the airport and meet him. So I was thinking, she doesn't know yet. Maybe I should just give back and take another one. And I thought, that would be really unfair, because I know he's coming. She didn't know when she asked me. Okay, so anyway, I was doing the Arti. When Prabhupada came, all the devotees went out to the airport. And there was me, Ayodhapati, and Har Kumar stayed back at the temple. You were doing some service. He was doing, I think, some service, tidying, cleaning. He was in the basement somewhere doing some menial, amazing service. I was doing the Arti. One of the things I did was, I'm going to be able to, you have 45, I can have 1 more minute. Can I have 1 more minute? Anybody? No, I can't. Okay. Nobody responded. Okay, he said I could. Anyway, the devotees all went out to greet Srila Prabhupada, big kirtan, and then they all got in their cars and raced back, because now there's only a cook, pujari, and 3 devotees in the temple. So they raced back and they started outside the temple having this big uproarious kirtan. So I was either making the plates or whatever I was. Praharna was pujari at the time, head pujari. She came running in and said, Prabhupada's water's warm. And that was one of my duties. He had a beautiful silver plate, cup, everything. No, I'm not going to. And if you'd stop, I could. My husband says I can't finish the story. How about I won't do the whole thing, but I could hear in the kitchen while I was getting the water, fresh water, flour, da-da-da-da, and I could hear the kirtan rising and rising and rising. I was like, am I going to make it? Yeah. So I got the water pot. I'm running the kitchen, side room. It was a little house. The temple used to be the living dining room. So I got here, I got almost to the door of the temple room. Door opened, there's 3 or 4 dandas, and there's Prabhupada right there. I thought, and the sannyasis were behind him. And I just, I had the plate, and I just like, froze. While I offered obeisances, everybody trooped in, jammed into the temple room, which was tiny. There wasn't room for a mosquito in there. So I was standing there like, I've got Prabhupada's water. Like, ah. So we kind of handed it in. I'm going to finish. Okay. So Prabhupada, I can't remember actually a word that Prabhupada said, but I was just standing there up against the lintel of the doorway and watching every move, So he stopped and he motioned to Paramahansa Swami to pour him some water. It's a beautiful little fluted, solid silver cup that he had, and he put on it, poured the water, handed it to Prabhupada. And Prabhupada just tilted up, and he just gracefully poured some in his mouth. And I was over there, and he just looked straight at me. And it was just like such a small thing, but it was like, I see you, I'm accepting your service. It was such a moment of a connection. Anyway, I'm done.
Srila Prabhupada ki. Srila Prabhupada definitely appreciated every little bit of service that we were performing, and he appreciates every bit of service that everyone here performs.
Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Shrimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pacharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschat Chadesha Tarine. So Krishnadas Prabhu and I and Purnamasi, we were serving the Ottawa Temple in 1977. And I was asked to go to Mayapur to receive my Brahminical second initiation because we were short of pujaris for Sri Sri Gaurnitai. And so when we arrived, Srila Prabhupada was being carried on a stretcher. We call it a palanquin. But they were carrying him to come to Mangalarti while he was lying down. And devotees were saying, Srila Prabhupada, you're too ill to have to come to Mangalarti. Not necessary for you. And Prabhupada said, if I do not go to Mangalarti, then the rascals will use me as an excuse also not to come. So Prabhupada didn't cut us any slack. He wanted us to make as much advancement as possible. And also similarly, they would carry Srila Prabhupada on the palanquin or stretcher to Srimad Bhagavatam. And then he'd sit up and he'd give a fired up classes on the teachings of Prahlad Maharaj at that time. And it was just amazing because his body was quite incapacitated, externally. But preaching Krishna consciousness gave him life. So the warning was already there. How long will Prabhupada be physically with us? And March, February 77. And so at the time, I joined in 75. I met the devotees in Winnipeg. They brought me to meet Srila Prabhupada in Chicago. And then I was asked to help in Ottawa. And so during the 12 years that Srila Prabhupada was with us, especially when I remember when I joined in Chicago at O'Hare Krishna Airport, we were like, devotees were like commandos, like Marines. We were going to bed by 8 o'clock to wake up by 2 o'clock so that all our japa would be finished before 4:30. And then during japa time, Tripurari Swami and his very tight crew, he had 90 Radha Damodar men under his direction. And they'd be cramming Prabhupada's books so that he could be, very laser focused. So that when they get to O'Hare Airport, these businessmen, they'd just be plowing through the airport. And you have to be like super fixed up and strong in order to be, excuse me, sir, are you from Chicago or out of town? And to be able to get them in their to stop them in their big rush. Anyway, word was out that Srila Prabhupada was, his health was a challenge for him, external health. And so we had a prayer that we would say every day after the Nisringadev prayers. My dear Lord Krishna, if you so desire, please cure Srila Prabhupada. Sorry? Please save Srila Prabhupada. Please save Srila Prabhupada. Thank you. And then that fateful day came. Prabhupada departed. And I remember I was carrying an arti tray. I was cooking 6 artiks. I was cooking 6 offerings and doing 6 artiks every day at that time. And I was carrying the betray. I think most devotees will remember what they were doing at the time that we got the bad news that Prabhupada had departed. And immediately, it hit me like a thunderbolt. The disciples actually supposed to start bawling his eyes out and crying like anything. But my heart was so hard. I didn't cry immediately. But I thought, wow, what's going to happen now? How are things going to go on? And it just so happened that year we had the best book distribution results of ever. And we proved to ourselves that Srila Prabhupada is still here with us in his instructions. So I have many things I'd like to share, but I think I've only got maybe 5 minutes left or something. 3. Okay, so I'll rush through this as fast as I can. Okay. This is a wonderful story told by Rajendra Nandana Prabhu, very wonderful godbrother. Every time you'd see him, he'd just be smiling from ear to ear and always so happy to see you, full of love. He passed away, unfortunately, but he tells this story. I think it was captured by Siddhanta Prabhu. When the deities were installed in the Hyderabad temple, some South Indian Brahmins came. Srila Prabhupada had told Yashodanandan and Achyutananda Swamis that these were real Brahmins and must be treated very nicely and given anything they wanted. Generally, when the spiritual master is on the planet, his murti is not installed in the temple. And when the South Indian Brahmin Sampat Kumar Bhattacharya heard that Srila Prabhupada's murtis were going to be installed in Bombay, Vrindavan, and in different temples around the world, he traveled from Hyderabad to Bombay at his personal expense to give Srila Prabhupada shastric evidence that this practice of installing the murti before the spiritual master departs was not encouraged. Why? Because when they see his murti, people will feel that they're meeting Srila Prabhupada. On that note, I'm going to digress for a second. So when we were in the Ottawa temple, we have a partition there, and it separates the temple area from the Govinda's restaurant area. And so one day, the pujari or whoever left the door open so that when people would pass by, they could see Prabhupada's murti. And so these two little old ladies, they just finished taking prasadam, and they were peering in, looking at Srila Prabhupada. I said, oh, that's Srila Prabhupada, our founder, Acharya, our spiritual master. He departed in 1977, November 14th. And one lady turned to the other and she said, oh, they really preserved him well. They thought Srila Prabhupada was still sitting there. Okay. So, anyway. All right. So, why? Why should this practice not be done? Installing the murti? I'm almost done. Because when they see his murti, people will feel that they're meeting Srila Prabhupada. They will think that he's sitting on the Vyasasan, as he truly is. They will talk to his murti. They will say prayers. They will bow down to him. They will worship his murti and touch the murti's lotus feet. And as a result, Srila Prabhupada will suffer from taking on their karma out of affection for Srila Prabhupada. The learned Bhattacharya gave many shastric references. He wanted to serve in this way, so he gave his best presentation. Prabhupada listened to him patiently, and he finally said, don't you understand that this is why I've come? When Bhattacharya said that, he immediately stopped speaking. He folded his hands, circumambulated Srila Prabhupada 3 times, and then he left. He finally understood who Srila Prabhupada was. So just like Vasudev Ghosh he was prepared to accept the karma of every living entity so that everyone could go back to Godhead. So Srila Prabhupada is that powerful. He's come for you. He's come for me, for all of us. We have a big debt to Prabhupada. And Prabhupada said, if you ever want to try to repay the debt to the spiritual master, which is not possible, he said, then preach vigorously, just as I am doing. Thank you.
Jai, so like Gaur Prabhu said, he'll be available after to share some more nectar about Srila Prabhupada after the 8:30 Artik, which is when prasadam, but you know, you may want to have that nectar more than prasadam. So now we will be having the Pushpanjali, offering of flowers to Srila Prabhupada, flower petals. Oh, not on the floor, not on the floor. And then we will be doing a Guru Puja, and then it will be the 8 o'clock Artik. No. Okay, so everybody has flower petals. Everybody should have flower petals. And divide them into 3 parts, because we'll be doing this 3 times, and at the end of each time that we say in response Srila Prabhupada's Pranam mantra, then we will offer Pushpanjali, offer our obeisances, and then do it again. And so you want to have 3 little bunches of flowers to be able to throw towards Srila Prabhupada. Okay, so just repeat after me. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prastaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swamin Iti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvasesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Esha Pushpanjali Srila Prabhupada Ki Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prastaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swaminiti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pacharane Nirvasesha Sunyavadi Paschatya Satarane. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prastaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swamin Iti Namine Namaste Saraswati Devi, Gauravani, Pracharine, Nirvasesha, Shunyavadi, Paschatya, Neshatarine, Esha Pushpanjali. Jai. Namo Om Vishnupadaya, Krishna Prastaya Bhutale, Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swaminiti Namane, Namaste Saraswati Deve, Gauravani Pacharane, Nirvasesha Sunyavadi, Paschatya Satarane. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya, Krishna Prastaya Bhutale, Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swamin Iti Namine. Namaste Saraswati Devi, Gauravani Pracharine, Nirvasesha Shunyavadi, Paschatya Deshatarine, Esha Pushpanjali. Nama Om Vishnupadaya, Krishna Prastaya Bhutale, Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swaminiti Namane, Namaste Saraswati Deve, Gauravani Pacharane, Nirvasesha Sunyavadi, Paschatya Satarine. Okay, the mic stand is back there. But stay here, I'll get it.
Shri Guru Charana Padma Kevala Bhakati Sadma. Shri Guru Charana Padma Kevala Bhakati Sadma. Thanks very much. Bando Mui Sabadana Mahate Bando Mui Sabadana Mate Jahara Prasade Bhai E Baba Toriya Yai Jahara Prasade Bhai E Baba Toriya Jai Krishna Prapti Hoya Hote Krishna Prapti Hoy Jaha Hoite Guru Mukha Padma Vakya Chitte Te Koriya Akya Guru Mukha Padma Vakya Chitte Te Koriya Akya Arana Koriyo Mane Ahasha Arana kore o mane Asha Guru charane rate Ese utama gate Sri Guru charane rati Ese utama gate Jai prasade pure sarva ahasha Jai prasade pure sarva asha Chakdana dilo ye janme janme Prabhu se Chakdana dilo ye janme janme Prabhu se Devya gyan hriday prakasito Devya gyan hriday prakasito Prema bhakti yaha hoite avidya vinashayate Prema bhakti yaha hoite avidya vinashayate Vedegaya haracharito Vedegaya haracharito Shri Guru Karuna Sindhu Adama Janara Bandhu Shri Guru Karuna Sindhu Adama Janara Bandhu Lokena Lokera Jivana Lokena Lokera Jivana Ha ha Prabhu Koro Doya De Omore Pada Jaya Ha ha Prabhu Koro Doya De Omore Pada Jaya Ebe Jasa Gosek Trebovana Ebe Jasa Gosek Trebovana Dui Padelo Elo Sharana Srila Prabhupada Patita Pavana Jaya Prabhupada 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 Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Jaya Prabhupada 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 Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Jaya Prabhupada 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 Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Prabhupada. Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Prabhupada. Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Prabhupada. Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Prabhupada. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Jaya Shri Krishna Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Jaya Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.